My mom had me when she was 17 years old. She was a high school student in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You could ask her, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't cool in 1964 to be a pregnant mom in high school in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The high school wanted to kick her out. You weren't allowed to be pregnant in high school there. And my grandfather said, you can't kick her out. It's a public school. She gets to go to school. And they negotiated for a while. Principal finally said, she can stay and finish high school, but she can't do any extracurricular activities. And my grandfather, being a very wise man, he was like, done. We'll take that deal. She finished high school. She had me. Then she married my real dad, not my biological dad. He's a Cuban immigrant, got a scholarship to college in Albuquerque, which is where he met my mom. So I have a kind of a fairy tale story. When I was 2 years old, Montessori school teacher complained to my mother that I was too task focused and that she couldn't get me to switch tasks, so she would have to just pick up my chair and move me. And my grandfather, from age 4 to 16, I basically spent every summer working alongside him on the ranch. I graduated from high school in 1982, and there were 750 kids in my graduating class. I wanted to be a theoretical physicist. I changed my major very quickly to electrical engineering. I graduated summa cum laude. I went to New York City, and I ended up working at a quantitative hedge fund run by a brilliant man named David Shaw, D.E. Shaw & Co. I learned so much from him. I used a lot of his ideas and principles on things like HR and recruiting and what kind of people to hire. So this is 1994, and I came across the fact that the World Wide Web was growing at something like 2,300% a year. Anything growing that fast is, even if its baseline usage today is tiny, it's growing so fast, it's gonna be big. I looked at that and I was like, there's gotta be, I should come up with a business idea on the internet and then let the internet grow around this. And so I made a list of products that I might sell online, and I started force ranking them. And I picked books because books is super unusual in one respect, which is that there are more book items in the book category than there are items in any other category. There are 3 million different books active and in print around the world at any given time. The founding idea of Amazon was to build universal selection of books. The biggest bookstores only had 150,000 titles. And so that's what I did. You know, I hired a small team, we built the software, I moved to Seattle.
I mean, you told your parents you were gonna...
With your loved ones, you bet on them. You're not betting on the idea, you're betting on the person. And it's one of those decisions I made with my heart and not my head. And I basically said, when I'm 80, I want to have minimized the number of regrets that I have in my life. And most of our regrets are acts of omission. They're things we didn't try. It's the path untraveled. Those are the things that haunt us.
You were telling me that you had to go deliver the books to the post office yourself.
But I was doing that for years.
And I
was packing boxes on my hands and knees. In the first month, I was packing boxes on my hands and knees on the hard cement floors with somebody else standing next to me, kneeling next to me. We're packing, and I said, you know what we need? Knee pads. This is killing my knees. And this guy packing alongside me said, we need packing tables. That's the most brilliant idea I've ever heard. And the next day I went and bought packing tables, and it like doubled our productivity. After books, we started selling music, and then we started selling videos. And then I got smart and I emailed 1,000 randomly selected customers and asked them, besides the things we sell today, what would you like to see us sell? That answer came back incredibly long-tailed. The way they answered the question was with whatever they were looking for at that moment. And I thought to myself, we can sell anything this way. And then we launched electronics and toys and many other categories over time. At the peak of the internet bubble, our stock peaked somewhere around $113. Nice. And then after the internet bubble busted open, our stock went down to $6. It went from 113 to 6 in less than a year. My annual shareholder that year starts with a one-word sentence, and that one-word sentence is the word ouch. That whole period is very interesting because the stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock. And so as I watched the stock fall from 113 to 6, I was also watching all of our internal business metrics, number of customers, profit per unit, everything you can imagine, defects, etc. Every single thing about the business was getting better and fast. And so as the stock price was going the wrong way, everything inside the company was going the right way. We didn't need to go back to the capital markets. We didn't need more money. The only reason, like the internet bubble bursting, makes it really hard to raise money. But we already had the money we needed. So we just needed to continue to progress. People always accused us of selling dollar bills for 90 cents and said, look, anybody can do that and grow revenues. That's not what we were doing. We always had positive gross margins. It's a fixed cost business. And so what I could see is that from the internal metrics is that at a certain volume level, that we would cover our fixed costs and the company would be profitable. Actually, a junior software engineer came up with this idea, not as a loyalty program, but this idea that we could offer people kind of an all-you-can-eat buffet of fast, free shipping. And when we modeled that, and the results were horrifying. Shipping is expensive. Customers love free shipping. But we could see, I mean, again, back to that, you have to use heart and intuition. There has to be risk-taking. You have to have instinct. Because, by the way, getting it wrong isn't that bad. That's the other thing. When we make mistakes, and we've made doozies like the Fire Phone and many other things that just didn't work out, we don't have enough time for me to list all of our failed experiments. But the big winners pay for thousands of failed experiments. So you try something like Prime, and it was very expensive at the beginning. It cost us a lot of money, because what happens when you offer a free all-you-can-eat buffet? Who shows up to the buffet first? The heavy eaters. That is what happened. But we could see the trend lines. We could see that all kinds of customers were coming, and they appreciated that service. As a senior executive, what do you really get paid to do? As a senior executive, you get paid to make a small number of high-quality decisions. Your job is not to make thousands of decisions every day. Is that really worth it if the quality of those decisions might be lower because you're tired or grouchy or any number of things? Now, it's different if it's a startup company. I mean, you're really, when Amazon was 100 people, it's a different story. But Amazon's not a startup company, and all of our senior executives operate the same way I do. They work in the future, they live in the future. None of the people who report to me should really be focused on the current quarter. We started it a long time ago now, 15 years ago, and worked on it behind the scenes for a long time, and then finally launched it. It has become a very large company. At AWS, we completely reinvented the way that companies buy computation. Then a business miracle happened. This never happens. This is like the greatest piece of business luck in the history of business so far as I know. We faced no like-minded competition for 7 years. It's unbelievable. When I launched Amazon.com in 1995, Barnes & Noble launched BarnesandNoble.com in 1997. We launched Kindle. Barnes & Noble launched Nook 2 years later. We launched Echo. Google launched Google Home 2 years later. When you pioneer, if you're lucky, you get a 2-year head start. Nobody gets a 7-year head start. And so that was incredible because, and I think it was a whole confluence of things. I think that the big established enterprise software companies did not see Amazon as a credible enterprise software company. And so we had this long runway to build this incredible, feature-rich, and it's just so far ahead of all the other products and services available to do this work today. I live my life in such a way that when I, in a quiet moment of reflection, and I'm thinking back on my life, that I have as few regrets as possible. What will my legacy be? I have no idea. And I don't even want to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I'm going to give away a lot of money in a nonprofit model, but I'm also going to invest a lot of money in something that any rational investor would say is a really bad investment, which is Blue Origin, but I think it's super important. And if I can't make Blue Origin a for-profit thing, maybe I'll convert it to nonprofit at some distant point in the future. But that would be, I wouldn't want that. I want it to be a thriving ecosystem, more like UPS and FedEx.